The Russian President Vladimir Putin is all set to visit India during December 4th and 5th, which is being dubbed as a historic visit at a time when the Russia-Ukraine war continues. This will be the first visit of the Russian president immediately since the war actually began more than 3 years ago. In fact, last he had visited towards the end of 2021, which was just weeks before the war actually began between Ukraine and Russia. Well, Russia has been a trusted ally and a trusted friend of India for decades together. The work and the base of this relationship was set up, of course, during the USSR era when India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, visited the USSR in 1955 and then 1961. There was trade, there was commerce between India and USSR that began during that era. And by the time Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister, there was a friendship treaty, a peace, friendship and cooperation treaty that was signed between both these countries that became a phenomenal, significant road step towards, more friendship and bilateral cooperation between New Delhi and Moscow. And of course, it was not just the defense and, defense equipment, etc. that, was the crystal behind the entire friendship between India and Russia, but also satellite. And of course, India's first astronaut, Rakesh Sharma, finally visiting, along with the Russians during that particular time in the 80s, around 84. And of course, this friendship continued, and then came the liberalization era in 1991, the historic speech of India's Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. This was also the time when USSR and Russia were suffering. There was economic crisis that was underway, and India actually tried to do more commerce with Russia to help in this entire scenario, which was of mutual cooperation between New Delhi and Moscow. And finally, Narasimha Rao took the friendship forward, and then came, of course, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and later Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, again building the relationship forward. There was a declaration of a strategic partnership that was signed between Atal Bihari Vajpayee and President Putin around 1999, and thereafter strengthening this strategic cooperation further during the Manmohan Singh era, during UPA 1 and UPA 2. But finally, there was a new renewed chemistry between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. Of course, there have been several visits between both these leaders, President Putin visiting India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visiting, at the same time Moscow. And at this particular time, of course, the friendship is at its pinnacle. There is, of course, 70 to 80% of the kind of defense technology, manufacturing, etc. that Russia is helping India with. I don't think any other country has even come close. Now there is, of course, France that is inching closer to share technology with India. But Russia has been a trusted friend when it comes to that. During this Russia-Ukraine war current that has been underway, there's been tremendous pressure from the Western allies of India and, of course, strategic partners, including United States and several European countries. A lot of preaching lessons being given to India. But India has stood its ground on strategic autonomy and also the relations, bilateral cooperation, trade and purchase of oil with Russia. Now, during this particular visit, of course, trade, defense ties, oil purchases and the strategic partnership between India and Russia will take the center stage. But what will also take the center stage is the bonhomie and the chemistry between Modi and Putin. They could perhaps take a walk together, a stroll together, and there would be moments for the paparazzi and the cameras that would be tracking the visit very closely during December 4th and 5th. But while this visit continues, and there could be some big announcements as well, the Western countries, and especially the United States, would be watching this very, very closely. In the past many years, there have been apprehensions in New Delhi because of the Western sanctions, etc. Of course, during India's S-400 purchase, also there was fear of the CATSA sanction. And during this Russia-Ukraine war, there have been continuous threats coming in. Moscow and Beijing have also come closer. But that has also, withstood the test of time, and Delhi and Moscow continue to build and rebuild their ties on the shared history, on the cultural legacy, and of course, the great historic ties between both these countries. Of course, the Bollywood for decades together has been historically popular in Moscow and across Russia. We've seen from Raj Kapoor to Mithun Chakravarti, a lot of celebrities from Bollywood being celebrated all across Russia, and that continues even today. There are several Bollywood songs, old and new, that are very famous. Indians are loved absolutely in Russia, and I would say that just like India has very independent and very different kind of relations with Israel, similarly with India and Russia as well, there is a shared history and there is a trust that continues even today. And even as Modi and Putin are all slated to meet now, all eyes will be for the next announcement and the game-changing historic decisions that both these world leaders make in New Delhi.